Queen's Gambit with white's third move e4. With 2, d captures c4, black has given up the center and so white logically occupies it with 3, e4. It seems to us that any player who wants to master the Queen's Gambit accepted, must begin with the 3, e4 system, because it is white's most straightforward option and is currently considered to be fairly critical. Obviously black must fight against white's perfect pawn center and there are several ways of doing so. The most important option for black, e5, will be considered in another video series. However, black can also attack the center with 3, knight c6, or undermine it with c5, or challenge it with 3, knight f6. Note: the positions which arise after the dynamic 3, e4 have a completely different character to the more traditional lines of the Queen's Gambit accepted. Black plays third move. Knight f6, another provocative knight development, but this time black targets e4, rather than d4 after e5, best, whereas, modest of the e4 pawn, with move 4, knight c3, brings problems for white. After, black fourth move e5, again white has gained a spatial advantage, but here black enjoys control of the useful d5 square in the middle game. Both sides have their trumps. White will try to increase his space advantage with a flank advance of his pawns, usually on the queen side but sometimes on the king side, and black's main plan is to undermine the strong d4-d5 pawn chain, with the help of the c5 from black and f6 break. After black's fifth move, knight b6, black immediately asks the bishop on c4 where it's going. The fifth move from black, knight c6, has been considered less precise. After bishop b3, a major alternative is 6, bishop d3, which lets white's bishop control 2 important diagonals, but weakens the defense of d4 and white's control over d5. After black's sixth move, knight c6, white has to choose between the seventh move, knight e2, and the seventh move, bishop e3. Black should meet the later with black's seventh move, knight b4, white's eighth move, bishop e4, and afterwards, black f5. Warning: white should avoid ninth move, bishop f3, which is met by black's ninth move, f4. Move 10, bishop captures f4, black bishop f5, and black wins the exchange. After black's knight c6, in the fifth game of 1992, Karpov vs. Short chess match, black tried the direct attack on white's center, by black's sixth move, c5. It seems to us that after the simple seventh move from white, d captures c5, queen captures d1, check, any recapture promises white a small edge in the endgame, and probably that's why black's sixth move c5 has not become popular. After bishop e3, again white can also start with the seventh move, knight e2. There's also the remarkable draw after seventh move, knight f3, bishop g4, 8, knight g5. Bishop captures d1, ninth move, bishop captures f7 check, king d7, 10th move of white, bishop e6 check, which has occurred about 100 times in the database. TIP. Often when a pawn is sacrificed against us, the best reaction is to play on without regard for our extra material. It is not the opponent's sacrifice that is dangerous for us, but our own greed. White plans to castle short, play a3, against the maneuver knight b4 to d5 and prepare b4. The principal question for black in the line is where to castle. Originally black preferred short castling, but then white often advances on the king side with help of f4, and later f4 to f5, or d4 to d5. Recently black has preferred long castling, to advance his h-pawn and to undermine the center with the help of black's f6. The resultant positions are very complex from a strategic point of view, and that's why real fighters like to play this position with both colors. Black adopts the older plan, and now white can play for an advantage with Alexei Sharov's 11th move as white, then bishop g6, f4, knight a5, d5. But it might be even better to prefer 11th move a3 when after 11th move for black knight a5, bishop c2, bishop captures c2, queen captures c2, knight a4, rook a, d1, as in a Karpov vs. N short. 9th match game, Linares 1992, it is hard for black to find a clear path to equality. Theoretical? Yes, as both sides must have studied several variations to play this system. Theoretical status? Along with black's third move, knight c6, the third move for black, knight f6, system is nowadays considered to offer black decent prospects against 3, e4. As compensation for his lack of space, black obtains an outpost on d5 and has good chances for counterplay in many different variations.